Greetings viewers and welcome to the show. I've got a confession to make. I cannot stop playing the finals. It's hard. But I've come today to discuss a little bit about some impressions of the game and touch a little on the philosophy of the balancing. To nobody's surprise, the finals has swooped in and taken over the gaming market. As of yet, still running strong in the top 10 most played games, standing among the titans of gaming that have dominated the scene for years now, like Counter-Strike and Dota. And the reason for that is pretty simple, right? It's a very team-oriented game where cooperation and playing the objective will win you games. But at the same time, it accentuates the individual skill expression through your ability to defeat other players. It's the best of both worlds, really. There's countless games where you play in a team, but you can't help but feel that your individual contribution to the success of the team is very minimal. Like, am I really bringing something unique to the team with my plays, or is my contribution just replaceable by any other Joe Schmo? You're always part of the bigger picture, and never in the spotlight. On the contrary, the finals has plenty of moments when you are under the light, when you are the star of the show, like in the last seconds of the match when you sneak up on the opponents and kill them, as you frantically move about knowing every second matters. Teammates down, and only a few moments left, your brain starts processing all of the possibilities and various outcomes, ultimately hypothesizing on what would be the best course of action. Do I save my teammates? Do I throw a scan grenade to find any lurking enemies? Or do I just go for it and try to steal it? So you make a run for it, and start stealing. As the loud buzzer noise alerts to everyone your intentions, knowing of the danger ahead, you pull back. But the defending contestants, just as hungry for the money as you are, start blindly running into you to stop you from taking their payday. They think you're defenseless on the cash box. They walk straight into your trap and into your line of fire. They're dead, you're alive. As the last seconds tick down on the clock with the announcer shouting the remaining time, you hold on to the last cash box of the match as hard as you can, and you make it. Barely qualified for the next round of eliminations. Relieved that you've made it, and yet full of adrenaline from that intense match, you get ready for what's next to come. It's only the first round. The finals is full of tense moments like these, but I might have gotten a little ahead of myself there. Because aside from the individual self-expression this game offers and very technical skills like aim, tracking, and recoil control, there are tons of more macro-oriented strategies that you must learn in order to succeed and ultimately have the best and most fun experience in this game. Simply eliminating opponents for the sake of a high KD ratio will not exactly make you win games, which is the ultimate goal of the game. So for context of this video, I'll make a little recap on how this game works. And also for already acquainted players with the mechanics, it will serve as some food for thought to make you think about how you play the game on a bigger scale, to improve and outsmart the other contestants like you would in a chess game, not just through raw aim and headshots. So let's start from the top. The game is set in a virtual game show sometime in the future, where 4 teams of 3 contestants battle it out for fame and glory in an urban arena that's being watched by fans all around. It's a pretty big deal. And you, alongside your 2 teammates, better not mess up, because we played not just to win here but also to impress our sponsors. Big plays equal more viewers and more eyes on the sponsors. To win, you have to collect cash. There will be periodically spawning vaults around the map that you have to pry open. Then, to actually cash them in, you have to grab it once the unlock timer is done and bring it over to a deposit station, where you will start the countdown for it to go into your team's balance. But beware, your enemies all have the same objective as you, and there can only be 2 qualified teams for the next round of eliminations out of the 4. So get ready to battle for every step of this process. At the end, the teams with the most cash and balance will move on, while the others are disqualified. So, to win in this arena, you're gonna have to be fast, efficient, and work together to pull ahead of the competition. You have plenty of tools at your disposal to win. And this is where the finals really shines in my eyes. There's a lot of variety in what you can choose as your loadout and class. And don't forget that there's 3 of you on your team. So the decision of who should I play as and what should I pick is not just based on what you feel like. It's also a good idea to think about what your team might need as a whole. Do I want to be a sneaky little bastard that runs around dashing everywhere and grappling up behind my enemies to gun them down in close quarters as they helplessly try to pin me down, but can't because I'm so light? Or maybe we could use a little foundation for the team. Somebody to be the healer and reviver with good damage at all ranges with a trusty assault rifle. Or perhaps somebody with recon senses over the healing beam to serve as the team's eyes and see where the enemies will be before they hit you. Or perhaps have the best of both of these setups with a recon grenade to throw on the objective for info about the positions of the enemies. All around, you could be the medium. And of course, perhaps we need somebody on demolitions or fortifications duty. Somebody to show the enemies the heat up close, with a machine gun or a shotgun. Someone who will not shy away from the chaos, explosions, and gas of a hectic gunfight. Someone heavy. You get the idea. There are several playstyles and different gadgets you can use that drastically shift how you play and how you approach the game. And it's not the case like you would see in other games where it's like you only really see slight changes in how you play once you switch out your loadout for one weapon or the other. Where one has a little more recoil or a bigger clip size or has one more damage point to it. No. In the finals, it's more like your entire playstyle can change from every slot you use, right? Like here's an easy example to show you what I mean. You could have either a jump pad for quick navigation and access to high grounds, or you could have a zipline which largely does the same thing but gives you more horizontal ground coverage and can help you and your team cover big distances faster. Both have their place, and you wouldn't approach the same fight for a cash out the same way you would if you had a jump pad ready to go compared to a telegraphed zipline that would surely be shot down by the enemies if they see it. You see what I mean. And so the advantage to this variety is of course replayability. It'll keep you coming back until you've tried every toy this virtual playground has to offer. Someone's gotta keep the sponsors happy after all. And another thing that this game gets right, and something that I already touched on a little bit, is the team aspect of the game. Coordination is key, and you can do a lot of things when you have a group of people to communicate with. While you set up for the next fight, you could have a heavy guy set up goo all around the safe, creating a huge roadblock for anyone coming in, and the others could run around scouting for any useful barrels or explosives and gases that you can shoot and detonate if somebody starts ringing into your safe. Or when you're on the retake and trying to capture somebody else's vault, there's a lot of things you can do together to truly up your chances of a good execution. Say your light guy comes in from behind everybody to draw their attention away from your main attack, who launches explosives on the enemies which completely crumbles the building, creating chaos. It's in moments like these that your enemies might be trying to heal up or trying to find cover that you can steal that cash out right under their noses. And speaking of chaos, the destruction of this game is fantastic. It's a very unique design element that clearly had a lot of thought put into it. On a more technical note, I learned about this in another video, and how the game uses ray tracing to light up the insides of the buildings. And when you combine this with the ultimate destruction this game provides you with all of the tools around you, it creates giant piles of rubble and debris that look pretty realistic. It's not perfect of course, but it's pretty damn good. And it shapes the level and the combat area, creating new obstacles and cover, and ray tracing helps light up the insides with reflective light technology. Whereas on a more gameplay-oriented side, the destruction helps create a more dynamic level, which helps every match feel different from the previous. And what builds on this feeling of every match feeling different is the casters. And I mentioned them for a good reason, because there's some innovation going on in this area that might just shape how future games handle AI. That's right, the voice acting by the casters of this game show is in part voiced by artificial intelligence. Trained, of course, on real voice actors who have genuine voice lines and dialogue in game. These fake casters in game have tons of voice lines, like a lot. So much so that the game doesn't shy away from having them speak like real casters from something akin to the NBA. And so far I've never felt like they repeat themselves, which is one of the benefits of doing things this way. It's a lot cheaper and efficient to just write some text for the AI to read it out loud to us, than to have the entire process of the voice actors come into studio and do the recording every time you need to add something new.
Well, you don't see this every day, even in the finals. This match is about to become an extraterrestrial obstacle.
The high notes make their earnings. Cash out complete.
These AI casters constantly yap about how the contestants are doing, what are they doing, and the state of the match. It's great. And get this, the best part about all of this AI voice, in all honesty, I didn't even realize it was this way until I read about it online. That's how good it is, even though I had a small hunch. I believed that the voice actors were playing into this slightly annoying but informative caster model on purpose, but unfortunately I cannot unhear it now, and if I spoiled this revelation for somebody, then I'm sorry. Anyways, love the casters. They really bring life to this game and help decorate the theme of this virtual corporate sponsored game show that's being watched by millions of people. Now, I feel it's important to talk about how the game as a whole is going to move forward. Everything about this game shines and glisters, from the shooting, to the movement, to the dynamic levels, to the voice acting, and so on and so forth. But what I've noticed in my time playing, especially ranked, is that there's a very heavy meta in playstyle. And really, most of it ties back to the more strategic and macro-oriented choices this game offers you. The finals very heavily promotes defensive play, which dominates any other playstyle. Throughout the game, the vaults containing the cash will be your primary source of income, and will be your path to victory. You will have to first unlock the vault, and then defend it at a deposit box. In many cases, if a team has the time to set up defenses like gas and fire and goo to stop any stealers, it will be pretty hard for the enemy to contest them. Utility, like grenades and mines, play a huge role in deciding the outcome of the cash out, more so than gunfights and actual shooting. Grenades thrown from safety or the mines you set up while there was no fighting are easily able to get you by on the defense. But to really solidify and ensure victory, you start playing around this idea of being on the defender's side. Set up on the high ground to have a better vantage point on the other contestants. You can always duck to cover and just shoot down from a safer position. Remember, the enemies have to make the move to steal the cash out, which is a risky play because you have to stand still for a few seconds. Seconds that will alert everyone nearby to the robbery and have everyone direct their attention to you. So stand your ground and don't poke your head out unless you have to. And that's all good and all. It's just part of the strategy. But the thing is, when you do actually have to peek and expose yourself to the enemy, right? You could have a guy have his healing beam pocketing you while you take the gunfight, or a heavy lift up his shield as you trade hits with the enemy. Except they'll be shooting a wall while you're shooting them. And as of now, this defensive playstyle leaves little to be desired for any diversification of loadouts that I talked about earlier. You'll want shields, defibrillators for quick resurrections of fallen teammates, and some defensive utilities. Running a light setup is hard when what you're going up against is this unstoppable force, because things like mobility don't come into play as much when the enemies move as a unit and stay on the high ground. Playing light is okay, and it's manageable, and it's fun. But sometimes it feels like trying to run up a steep hill while everyone else just flies up. It's as though you're the most restricted of everyone, when in reality by design it should have been the opposite way. Free, mobile, and pesky. I'll admit, game balancing is a very delicate topic. Everyone always has their opinion and experts say on how they imagine a game should play. Like they have some sort of solution, right? And understandably so, because you, as a customer of the game, you know what you want and what you like, as much as you know what you don't want and dislike. Remember that you are the lifeblood of the developers and publishers. You vote with your wallet and playtime. You should have a say in what you're playing, and you want your game to be the most enjoyable it can be. It would be counterintuitive to say otherwise. But the reality is that our differences in opinions and tastes really shifts what one might see as a good game. The same way you might like one class more than another, and play it more than anything else. You might like a meta more than another in the same way. But ultimately, I know a thing or two about this, because I see a very distinct link here in the finals. It bears many resemblances to what a game of Overwatch 1 would look like. Shields, teamwork, and lots of healing. And of course, like any experienced Overwatch player would tell you, the importance of high ground. In my eyes, this comparison can help people who have played the former Overwatch sort of understand how this game works. But also it's that I've played both of these games, and I know how a similar meta like this plays out in the community. It ends with outrage. Tired of shooting shields, tired of my kills being resurrected, can't kill any heavies, and so on and so forth. And guess what? Then, the gamers take to the forums to beg for change and balance changes. They want something new. But of course it would be silly to compare the games one for one, because they are not identical. The biggest differences is that, instead of having fancy abilities, every class, or should I say weight, has hit scan weapons. It's raw shooting, and that never goes wrong. The weapons feel awesome, aiming, shooting, reloading, everything about them. And the other thing that's very different is of course the team sizes. The finals has much smaller team sizes of only 3 people, which changes many things. One of those things is how teams interact between each other throughout the match. Remember, 4 teams and only 2 can qualify for the next round. Virtually, there's no difference whether you finish second or first as long as you can move on to the next round. So long as you're not part of the disqualified teams 3 and 4, you're okay. So, of course, you'll want to play according to that information. There's some macro strategy here that even I still haven't figured out to the T, which I'm sure will be figured out by true gamers. But as a whole, there's a concept that this game sort of nudges onto you. Sometimes you'll find yourself in a situation where the enemy of your enemy is your friend, because in an ideal world, you'd get every cash out on the map for yourself and leave the other teams to scramble for scraps to qualify in second place. But of course, this is not really possible because this means you'll have to go up against 9 other cash-hungry players. And also, the game always spawns 2 vaults, so realistically, in order to stay together and play as a team to maximize your chances of victory, you'll be mostly fighting for 1 vault at a time. Although I will say this is of course up to you, because you can strategically use those same vaults and plug them into the same cash out deposit station as your enemies across the map in order to double up on the banking. A risky move, but one that might pay off, and save you some time if you can pull it off. Anyways, point is, in your average match you're going to be fighting for 1 vault at a time, and then another, and so on until you win or lose. But what happens at the end when you're already qualifying but the enemy team is still trying to steal your spot? This is best demonstrated with an example. 2 vaults spawned at the start of the match, ignoring any other income sources. Your team, fighting as hard as they can, lose the cash out, as Team B and C secure the 10 grand. Unfortunate, but there's still a chance to make a comeback. Now, 2 more vaults spawn at the midpoint of the match. Upping the stakes, each one of these vaults now comes with 15 grand each. Fighting tooth and nail, knowing that your team is at risk of losing, you pull through and secure that cash out. Awesome! But it seems like Team B, to assure their victory odds, break into the other 15 grand vault and secure it on top of their already acquired pile of cash from the previous fight. They're up big time now, sitting at 25 grand, way ahead of you and anyone else. And now, as you comfortably sit in second place, Team C and D, in fear of being disqualified, try their best to push the game into overtime and manage to clock in the last vault, for a total of 22 grand into the cash out. This puts everyone on edge. Well, everyone but Team A, who only has to avoid being team wiped at this point to not lose any cash. Pretty easy so long as you just hide. So, Team D starts the cash out. If they manage to get it in, your team will be put down from second place to disqualified. It's now your job to stop them and steal it. Similarly, Team C will want to take it as well, because they're going to end up in last place if this goes through. Now, think about this situation for a moment. Who are your enemies and allies here? Do you see what I'm getting at? Team A is sitting very comfortably in first place. If for some reason they try to steal the cash out because they're unaware of the best course of action and go off the model of more money equals better, then they're technically helping you. Team A's actions can help you if they kill any members of Team C or D, essentially clearing a path for your team to steal the cash out. Now let's rewind a little. You're good at the game, and you thought of this situation in your head and you see just how stupid it would be for Team A to do such a thing. And in reality, how hard it would be to fight off possibly all the other teams in an attempt to secure your place during overtime. Remember, defender's advantage is the foundation of the game's meta right now. So to avoid all of this, you call for your team to guard the cash out station. You don't need the 22 grand. Team C and D need them. What you need is to stop them from getting it. So flip the game on its head, and instead of going for the bag, put the grind on pause, and go ruin Team C and D's day by bunkering down the cash out before they put the vault into it. Genius. Now, this was a very oversimplified example, and with a game as chaotic as the finals, a lot of things can go right or left in the match. And to add on to that, the money system is also affected by several other factors that all may have a significant result on the outcome of the game that I just didn't mention. Every kill will give you some money, starting the vault will earn some, physically putting it into the cash out station will also net you a little money, but most importantly, a team wipe will cut their earnings by 30%. Earn 10 grand but die all at the same time, lose 3,000. And so, really, while I'm describing these game mechanics, you can start to puzzle together the reality of how you should base your strategy. Defensive play will win you games. You'll want to avoid dying together to not lose your earnings. So consequently, you'll want to avoid flashy plays when you're the last one alive. And the other thing is that when you're in the lead, you should play defensively as well. In the worst case scenario, you will repeatedly get team wiped until you fall out of the disqualified list. There's no incentive for you to do anything once you're in the first place with a big lead. You can just hide and do nothing and get by. Everyone else has to come to you to kill you and get you out of the first place. And by all means, sometimes it's a valid strategy in matches that are extremely tight on the economy. But really, how do you feel about this strategy of hiding when ahead and also secretly exploiting your enemies as actual teammates because they're not contesting your place? How do you feel when this is the case and that in order to retake what you have to go up against these two heavies with 4 shields up and a medium healing them 24/7? You might feel helpless, while they might feel indifferent. They've already won the round at this point, so long as they don't deeply fuck it up somehow. Do you see what I'm getting at? The casters always hyping up about flashy plays going on in the arena, and talking about unpredictable events and how they're sitting on the edge of their seats spectating the contestants. Knowing the sponsors are watching, they want action. But unfortunately, they might not get it, just because of how the game show is designed. What a shame. At the end of the day, I'm being a little overdramatic here. The game is still chaotic and very dynamic. Destruction and chaos really open a lot of doors and opportunities for you to find a crack in the defenses of any stronghold. It's really fun, and I can't stop playing it ever since I got it. The reality is that what I talked about is what overanalysis of a game strategy looks like. And perhaps, it's something that you should think about next time you play. Think of what you pick in the loadouts. Think of who you shoot during overtime and beware of team wipes. And all of that means, be safe out there with some shields and some healing beams, even though you might yearn for a little light action. Because if you want to win, you'll want to stick to the old reliable. To end on a good note, I'm happy with the game as it is right now. I enjoy the shield and healing bonanza as it brings me back to the times of a game like Overwatch 1. And I really enjoy all the team play and coordination with my teammates, while still being able to shine like a star with my gun. But you might not like it. The more you think about it, the more you start to see how macro is important to winning your games. It's like chess, you'll need to think ahead, and remember, if you're a casual player of the game, this meta will eventually trickle down to your level at one point as well, as in, you will improve and get better, but so will the people around you, and if things stay as they are right now, you might not like this defensive-oriented playstyle so much. So, here's hoping that it will change sometime later. Something to shake up the meta, perhaps in line with the battle passes seasons that they will most likely rotate. The developers can bring on balance changes to bring new life. Maybe we'll see some snipers or dagger-wielding maniacs and goo gun enthusiasts. Anything's possible. I'm sure the game has a great future ahead of itself, and I'm looking forward to playing the finals for a long time to come. I'm sure they'll find new ways to do interesting stuff. I'd really like them to spice up the last round where there are only 2 teams battling instead of 4. It feels a little dull compared to everything you fought for before. Although, really the winner is decided in that round, so there's still a lot of tension. And also, maybe get rid of the pesky bugs and cheaters. As of right now, I'm not done with the finals just yet, so I'm off to another game of ranked. Thanks for watching, contestants, and good luck out there.